Welcome to the Fearless Floyd Show. We'll begin in 40 seconds. Welcome to the Fearless Floyd Show. As always, I am your host, Fearless Floyd. And, I watch a lot of videos. I listen to a lot of videos on a wide variety of topics. And that's why when I tell you guys, I know a lot about a lot. I'm no expert in every field, but I try to educate myself every which way I can. And in my perusal, I found this video today. Sometimes you just, somebody did a really good job and no reason to go try to reinvent the wheel. But it follows the same narrative that I've been pushing for quite some time now regarding artificial intelligence in the future, surveillance, facial recognition, biometrics, digital DNA, digital twins, a digital universe, digital dimensions, owned by these megalomaniac-owned corporations like Meta and Oracle and Amazon, and I can just go down the list. Y'all know who I'm talking about. So let me get over here and play a little of this for you. I haven't even watched the entire video, so.
Been probably seeing a whole bunch of these things, and in some places they're so common that you don't even notice them. They just blend into the background like they're trees or streetlights, and you've probably correctly assumed that they're recording traffic. They're all
I don't know why it's not screen sharing, so hang on. There we go.
If you're an American, you've been probably seeing a whole bunch of these things, and in some places they're so common that you don't even notice them. They just blend into the background like they're trees or streetlights, and you've probably correctly assumed that they're recording traffic. They're also recording and logging license plates and using AI image recognition. But what if I told you that they are in fact not owned by your local police department or your local government, but are licensed to them by a third-party startup, and all of your vehicle's whereabouts are being tracked by a third-party data broker? What if I also told you that major retail chains are also using them, and they're combining your vehicle's whereabouts with your personal information, your shopping habits, and even your in-store behavior, and some of them are giving that information to law enforcement? And what if I told you that I just possibly may have come up with a way to break it?
So not only is he parroting exactly what I've been telling you folks over and over and over, and I've done multiple videos on license plate readers alone, countless on artificial intelligence and robotics, but definitely about your digital DNA and your digital twin operating in digital universes. And what most people just, nobody is seeing the end result of what is taking place You know, there's people out there saying stuff about it, but for the 99.5% of the people out there, they don't even know. I would say 90% of them don't even really care. And when it hits them, you know, they're gonna listen to the excuse, the disaster capitalism. If you don't know what that is don't let any disaster go to waste. Somebody must make a profit off the disaster. And that's kind of what this is. So when all this comes in and takes place, you're trapped. And this is why I tell everybody, if you don't already have an anonymous private trust, okay, not one that you've already registered with the county or the district or the city or the township or the state, it's 100% private, okay? The only thing they've ever seen is a certificate of trust or declaration of trust that's obviously notarized. That's all anybody ever needs to see. And then how you layer that underneath, that's up to you. But this, okay, this is the reason that you need to get a trust. I don't care whether you come get one from me or you think you can go get one sufficient from AI, knock yourself out. But there's many different avenues and sources for trust. Okay, I'm not doing this to make money. If I was, I wouldn't be living here. You know, I'd be on the beach in Puerto Rico, folks. Okay, so obviously I'm not profiting on this, but this is for education, and I try to teach as many people about this as I can, and you know why you should do the things you do, and why you need to do the things you need to do. Part of that is operating in the public privately, and what this looks like, and why you should do it, and why you need to do it, and why it's beneficial for you and your entire family to do this, or most of the people that you associate with, the things that you do, and the places that you go. All this is being mapped in real time, in another dimension that's a digital dimension. It's a digital realm that already exists. Most of these corporations already have them set up. I know NVIDIA, who makes the world's fastest silicone chip. They're the Mac Daddy right now. And they have a digital realm. And you can go hear their CEO talk, Jensen Huang, talk about how they have millions of miles of roads, buildings, everything already done. So let's dive back into the video. I just wanted to give you a little up on that. But this is what we're talking about right here, okay? Because these cops, they're looking for John Doe. Boom, 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 boom. Hey, John live here? No. Hey, boom, 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 boom. Hey, John Doe, you in there? But way over here, and it's like, oh no, we already know that one's in a trust, so that's not John Doe's house, right? We look at the utility bills; they're all in the trust, or in a holding company, or LLC, or nonprofit, whatever you have set up in. They're just not in your name. Let's get back over here to the video and finish up. And this is a lengthy video, and I have not watched all of it. I watched about 12 minutes of it, and I was like, okay, cool. I can use it.
This Colorado family was being driven to a shopping center in a stolen vehicle, and they would have gotten away with it without cutting-edge technology alerting police of their crime.
Nah, that was actually an OCR error.
Well, this New Mexico woman and her 12-year-old sister were driving to the park with a stolen license plate when AI-enhanced technology allowed police to...
That one was another computer vision error.
Well, yet another car-thieving woman of color caught red-handed...
Nope. Just a glitch. This situation keeps happening all over the country. Your tax dollars pay startups to rent AI superpowers to law enforcement. And then the following year, your tax dollars pay the lawsuit settlements when it doesn't work. Flock Safety is a startup that was founded in 2017 that specializes in developing and leasing security cameras that have AI capabilities such as license plate recognition and vehicle identification. And these security cameras feed into databases that law enforcement, private companies, and even private citizens can access and utilize. And if you own a car in the United States, you have unquestionably been logged within one of these databases. It works like this. You drive past a Flock Safety camera and it records an image or video. An image segmentation model or something similar looks for the license plate itself, or a rectangle with some key identifiers like tail lights or a rear window. Once it is confident enough that it found a license plate, it sends a portion of the image to an OCR model, or optical character recognition, which is probably the most widely used type of AI for consumers. For example, it's used in PDFs or any type of automatic data entry, like scanning and cashing checks on your phone with your bank's app. AI like this typically uses a confidence level threshold. So if the OCR model is above, say, 90% sure that your license plate was read accurately, then the information is saved with a location and timestamp on it. It can also classify the make and model of your vehicle and note if there are any bumper stickers or add-ons or cosmetic damage on the vehicle. And this information as well gets stored to that database. A law enforcement officer can then run your license plate and see every single time that your vehicle has been tagged in the database. So if you're in a city that has a lot of these cameras, it pretty much has the same effect as secretly sticking a GPS device on your car. Flock Safety is also happy to provide service to businesses and homeowners associations, and those private clients often allow law enforcement to access the data from their cameras. Then there's the hot list. If law enforcement puts you on the hot list, they are notified every single time that Flock detects you. So it's kind of like having a police tail all day, every day, but without the pesky annoyances of requiring a judicial warrant to target and track a citizen who may not even be suspected of any sort of crime. So now you might be asking, what is there to stop, I don't know, Texas law enforcement tracking women out of state who are suspected of getting illegal abortions? Or how would you prevent a jealous, abusive person who also happens to be a law enforcement officer from using the system to constantly track his ex-girlfriend and her new partner? Well, unfortunately, you wouldn't prevent it, because these are just two of the many examples of things that have actually already happened. Flock Safety has exhibited the usual hyper-aggressive startup behavior that we've all grown accustomed to. Near Orlando, Florida, for example, they installed nearly 100 cameras on public roadways without even notifying the county. And this entire industry sales pitches police departments with their cherry-picked success stories. If we didn't live in a surveillance state, this old lady with dementia would have never been found. Or if it weren't for all these cameras, this homicide suspect would have never been taken off the streets and would still be murdering people right now. Had this license plate reader error not led to a mother and her young children being held at gunpoint, that family would have never received a $1.9 million settlement from Aurora, Colorado taxpayers. Weirdly, I couldn't find that example in any of their sales decks. From every single agreement that I've looked up and seen, the police department or local government do not own the camera but pays for their installation, then rents them for an annual subscription fee. And usually this is between $2,000 and $3,000 per camera per year, but apparently there's been a recent price hike that has strained the budgets of some police departments. In all of these agreements, Flock Safety's liability policy is extremely tight and protects them against virtually all claims should something go wrong or an equipment or data error mislead an investigation. And one of the most amusing parts of this agreement is this section that is telling the police department to call 911 and not rely on Flock Safety services in the event of an emergency. Yikes. Civil communities, police departments, private businesses, and individuals are not allowed to sell, lease, lend, give away, auction, or otherwise transfer ownership of any of Flock's IP or hardware. At no given time are you allowed to decompile, disassemble, reverse engineer, modify, alter, tamper with, or even repair any of it. Later in this video, I'll be disassembling and somewhat reverse engineering some ALPR cameras, but not Flock. If I did have access to some of Flock's hardware sitting in a box right over there, my attorney advises me that showing you any of it would jeopardize the existence of this video as a whole. A big reason for this aggressive scaling is because the business model of companies like this is actually quite brilliant. They market themselves as public safety services licensing cutting-edge technology, but license plate readers and security cameras have existed for decades. Flock Safety and their competitors are data brokers. A city, police department, business, or homeowners association pays to borrow their cameras, And then they retain the right to make some of that data accessible behind the same licensing paywall scheme for other clients or customers. Andreessen Horowitz, who is the VC of choice for data brokers and big data startups like Databricks, Fivetrans, Scale AI, and Golden, just to name a few, they've invested nearly $500 million into Flock Safety, adding another $275 million just a few months ago. These are data broker numbers. For example, ADT, the largest and most recognizable home security company and brand in the world, went public in 1969 and has a market cap of $6.8 billion. And that market cap is eclipsed by Flock Safety's recent F-Series valuation of nearly $8 billion. And it needs to be pointed out that Flock Safety and Andreessen Horowitz have spent a combined $92,680,000 in lobbying, and the vast majority of that lobbying was in the last year. Maybe you are a law enforcement officer and Flock Safety has helped you solve cases. Or maybe you think that a poorly substantiated claim about a drop in crime is worth the constant monitoring and tracking of hundreds of millions of tax-paying citizens who are not criminals. And those small little glitches that result in young children being held at gunpoint face first on the hot asphalt in a parking lot are just some cracked eggs in the overall omelet that society is trying to make. And if you agree with that, and that's your perspective, fair enough. I strongly disagree with you, but this is a conversation that's not even worth having because all of this is about to get a whole lot worse for everyone, except for the billionaires extracting wealth from taxpayers, of course.
Hey guys, I'm still in the studio. We just finished our Q1 product launch. Fingers are still a little bit shaky. Flock Nova is going to change the game for criminal investigations. I've heard from so many chiefs that they have this system and that system and that system. They know they have the data, but it's taking their analysts hours and hours to build a case. And now with Flock Nova, it's one click to one case solved.
Did you hear that? One click, case solved. How are they going to do that? The all-seeing eye, the capital I. This is the new world order, folks. You're looking at it. You're seeing it in real time. It's happening in your neighborhood. It's probably already there. Nobody's doing anything about it. Nobody's noticing it. Nobody cares. All this is going to third parties like Palantir, Claude, ChatGPT, Grok. Remember, out of the top 10 wealthiest people in the world, the majority of them saw Trump in those first 60 days prior to and post inauguration. Absolutely. So don't think for a minute that we're not in the new world order. It's here. We're almost all trapped. You know, any smart device you have, all these apps on here, all those apps are talking to these other apps. Yeah. All of them. That's the news. Hang on, there we go. Go to that one. But all these apps. Every one of those apps I have on my phone, every app that I have on here, on this laptop, on that laptop, the router next door, my router, they're talking. So my apps are talking to their apps. So it's always communicating. Oh, I got to have a password to log into that router, that Wi-Fi. Your device does it. It's automatically talking. Microphone on 24/7, 365. Camera on 24/7, 365. That's how these devices work. Geolocator on 24/7, 365. You're always being mapped, tracked in real freaking time. That's what he's trying to tell you. So it doesn't matter if you're in your RV, your truck, your car, your motorcycle, your scooter, You can be on, one of those little electric scooters and, that doesn't have a registration or a license plate. But guess what? That's following you. That's tracking you. So you're always constantly being tracked. That's why I tell everybody, set up your foundation, your private foundation, which is a great segue because this Thursday, 8 o'clock Central Time, I will have Wesley Keith Mullings. He is the trademark class guru that I do. He has it's not new, but obviously he found the legal machinations for private self-insurance for individuals and families, for auto, renters insurance, homeowners insurance, and health. What all health, whether, I would imagine that covers everything just on the brief discussion he and I had. And I didn't really want to dive into the minutia of how it worked. I wanted to save that for the show so it's fresh and he doesn't have to repeat himself. And it's a time thing, we're all on time. So I would imagine that would cover, any type of health for your body, vision, dental, all of that. Works with bonds. It's effective in 44 states as well as Puerto Rico. I specifically asked if it worked in the territories, Puerto Rico, and Puerto Rico was assured to me that, yeah, it works there as well. So this is where we are as, you heard him, they look at your car and they can tell, if your car has damage, did you get your car fixed? Where are you getting all this damage to your car? Or you might be intoxicated while you're driving. This is where we're going, where these cameras are going to be able to zero in and take care of business. They don't even need to take, we don't need to get a tail anymore, and have 6 cars tail one person and, one's peeling off, how they used to do it like in the movies. You don't need to put a tracker on your vehicle now. So, as an example, let's just say your 67 Dodge Dart is registered in your trust. The license plate, the inspection sticker, the VIN number, every identification for that vehicle, even the make, model, year, and all that, it belongs to the trust. It's registered to the trust. So if anybody puts those identification data into a database source looking to find out who the owner is, well, the owner is going to come back in ABC Trust. It's not going to come back in your name. So how you have that layered is up to you, how far somebody has to actually dig to find out who that 67 Dodge Dart belongs to. Because, man, it sure looks sweet and I'd like to buy it, but I don't know who the owner is. It's a trust. I'm hitting a dead end. Right? So even if I saw you go into a restaurant and I followed you into the restaurant and I paid the waiter or waitress or bartender, hey, here's $20, what was their name? ABC Trust is what was on their credit card. Damn, hit another dead end. Follow them home. Run the address on the tax rolls. Boom, ABC Trust. What the hell? Track the utility bills to that address. ABC Trust. Everything belongs to the trust. You're 100% anonymous operating in the public. That's how you operate privately in the public. And there's many different facets of what that looks like, but that's just like, the baseline. Now, if y'all want to get into all the different license plates that you can or can't use legally, lawfully, or whatever that looks like, I just advise everybody just blend in, act normal. Don't put a target on your back because of misinformation or disinformation being given to law enforcement who have no comprehension about exactly what your status and standing is, okay, without you being able to, have a meeting of the minds discussion and not a argument or a debate or even worse on the side of the road. Let's dive into some more because this is it's not lengthy, but it's like 30 minutes.
Flock Nova is a brand new product that is in beta at the time of me recording this, and it combines computer-aided dispatch, criminal records, video surveillance, automated license plate reader data, and here's the kicker, third-party data acquired by Flock Safety. What third-party data, you ask? They haven't exactly been transparent, but 404 Media asked the same question and found out that Flock Nova was using data leaked and sold from large-scale hacks and security breaches. And since that story broke, Flock made an announcement claiming to no longer be using illegally stolen personal data. Most of us at face value don't really seem to mind, or at least don't think it's a big deal that our data is being farmed from us. Like, is it really that big of a deal that your activity on Pinterest under a mostly anonymized account is being stored and analyzed and sold? Well, it becomes a very big deal when it's combined with other data and stops being so anonymous. And when your health questionnaire information on BetterHelp was sold to Facebook, where you posted a bunch of photos from bars 10 years ago, and then all of that gets bundled by a data broker with your tracked and logged bad driving habits that your vehicle manufacturer sold. Yeah, that's a thing too. Guess what? All of this may explain the reason your car insurance costs twice as much as anybody else in your age demographic. Or it may explain why you can't seem to get a good interest rate on a loan. And now, especially in 2025, where something you may have posted a decade ago will get you arrested and deported. My point is, data privacy never really seems like a big deal until it is. Some states have various laws regarding this, but nobody really seems to give a shit because in the few cases where they do get caught, the fine or settlement is a mere fraction of the income generated from buying and selling your third-party data. If a large retailer or fast food chain is not using Flock Safety, then they're probably using some other type of...
If you remember correctly, I addressed that very issue in my various videos on artificial intelligence and definitely your smart-ass television, because I believe it was Vizio or LG, one of them, I can't remember off the top of my head now, but those television manufacturers sold 11 million televisions. Okay? 11 million televisions that spied on their customers. That data is valued at $5 to $35 per client, per customer, per month. The state of New Jersey, an FCC filed against them, and they settled. 2 million went to, I think, New Jersey, and 2.3 million went to the FCC. So they got at least 55 million and had to pay out 4.3. So they probably made, several billion dollars by the time they got caught and settled for a measly 4.3. So this is what protection of your data and your privacy rights really looks like financially to them. It's a part of the business plan. It's part of doing business. They know that they're going to get away with it, and they can continue to get away with it because how they fixed it was like, oh, okay, well, we'll just put a setting in there where, you turn it off and, yeah, that's good until you turn the TV off and then it resets. And you got to go back and continuously turn it off. So they have these, little twerks in there. And listen, it's going to get worse, and it's going to get worse, and it's going to get worse, and it's going to get worse. And this is not going away. You're going to have a social credit score. We're going to be on a central bank digital currency. Count on this stuff. The new world order is here. This is Operation Warp Speed 2 by Donald John Trump. He may not realize he's doing it, and by all means he could. He could be getting bad advice. I don't know, but I know that this is the track, and he's fast-tracked it. Because the first thing he did was create the Stargate AI project and sign off with that on the executive order, become the predominant AI country in the world, because whoever is the alpha AI is a demigod that will control the world. Absolutely. And these megalomaniacs who build, who own islands in Hawaii and build their own dumbs. Absolutely. We're just not part of that whole picture. So we have to be prepared for what's coming, which is a good segue from what we just covered. If you didn't get a chance to watch my video with Tanawa Downing, whoops, there we go. Why isn't that one popping up? There we go. Yeah, there we go. I had him on last week. All right. His whole premise is that these courts, doesn't matter what kind of court it is, they're operating illegally outside the United States Constitution, which basically makes everything null and void. Go watch the show. I've been editing it, breaking it up in different segments and publishing those. Were you indicted by a county without a grand jury? There's, I believe he said 14 different counties that they did away with the grand jury proceedings. Washington State since the 1880s. 1880s, they don't have a grand jury. Yeah, so all crimes according to the United States Constitution have to be right grand jury for capital and infamous. Now, if you want to challenge your city council, your county commissioner's court, or your parish over in Louisiana, you can join the team. There's a 1 minute, 2 minute, and 3 minute paper that you can download. I profile them in this video, where you can go up and you can inform these people and go watch these videos, because it's illegal to pay somebody to break the law. And when the city, county, or parish are paying these law enforcement personnel to go violate the law, we already know what that looks like if you follow me, then all those are null and void. So it's a great video. It's a great movement. I hope everybody can go do an affidavit. If you have a criminal conviction and you meet the criteria, go do an affidavit on the website. Go follow the videos. Go watch them. This includes all you parents out there who've had your children taken away from you through CPS or through a court, and now they're over with the other spouse who's abusing them in some form or fashion. This covers all of it. Working alongside with Tanawa Downing is Jessica Saxton. And if you have not heard Jessica speak yet, powerful. Go check her out. I encourage everybody to go check her out. So y'all go watch those videos. We're going to go back over here and find out if they found John Doe yet. What do you think? So,
automated license plate reader. But once you walk in those doors, oh my God. Let's just use Walmart's corporate privacy policy as an example. They're logging your personal identifiers, your name, your phone number, your address, your email, your driver's license number, your signature, device identifiers such as your phone or smartwatch's MAC address. They're sussing out your age, gender, citizenship, race, marital status, household income, education, unemployment information, family health, number of children, credit card numbers, and other payment information, geolocation history, photographs, polygraphs, audio recordings, video recordings, and, if known, background checks and criminal convictions. Oh, hang on, I haven't even gotten to the creepy part yet. Inferences, aka your behavior and preferences from your shopping patterns, intelligence, and aptitude. And they reserve the right to share any and all of this with third parties, including but not limited to, you guessed it. It's been reported that police departments have been running queries and sharing Flock Safety's data with ICE. Some Home Depot and Lowe's locations are also Flock Safety customers, and they have also been known to share Flock Safety's data with law enforcement. It might be safe to assume that some of the immigration raids happening at Home Depot and Lowe's locations may be connected to this honeypot of data. So when an immigrant picks up some construction supplies before work, the store will then send the license plate and vehicle identification data to Flock Safety. That would trigger an alert on the hot list, and just like that, masked men arrive and pick up the Venezuelan day laborer with no criminal record and ship them off to a prison camp in El Salvador. Like, why? Can't y'all just fucking sell tools? So we have these creepy AI cameras everywhere, proving every paranoid schizophrenic person right by logging our vehicles' every move for police, retailers, and even gated communities. Then we have retailers building advanced personal and psychological profiles about us, which are then being traded to data brokers and combined with our internet shopping, browsing, and social media activity. And now law enforcement data brokers are buying it all up. Here's a hard truth that we all need to know and consider. If every single actor in this database brokerage theater were playing by the rules and following every single law and acting ethically, your data is still only as safe as the database with the weakest security policies or that one employee that falls for the phishing email. In 2024 alone, if we are only counting data breaches that were formally reported, that number exceeds over 10,000 incidents affecting 4.2 billion compromised records. But fear not, our legislators are coming to our rescue by banning TikTok. Did I hear that right? And it kind of doesn't even matter at this point. Debating the safeguarding of personal data in 2025 is like standing on the burnt remains of a home and debating what kind of fire extinguisher you're going to put in the kitchen. This next section isn't about big data or retailers. We're going to circle back to the data mining that your tax dollars pay for, and we're going to see just how insecure it is. And we're going to try to come up with some ways to defend ourselves from it. In this chapter, we'll be technically going over how ALPR cameras work and examining a few hardware vulnerabilities, but we kind of don't have to. From what I gathered, Flock Safety cameras can be reached by Bluetooth, and without breaking off into a completely separate tangent, security is not Bluetooth's strength. To Flock Security's credit, from what I could tell, all the Bluetooth seems to be doing is relaying hardware and status information about the camera and transmission system. The camera system also has a Wi-Fi radio that acts as a router with WPA2 encryption, which a lot of consumer products still use despite it being a 20-year-old technology with a lot of flaws. One of those biggest vulnerabilities is in the handshake. If you were to try to guess the passcode on an iPhone, you have about 6 tries before the device times out and makes you wait before you can try again. And this is the same or very similar for any smartphone or Gmail or any modern login page. With WPA2 Wi-Fi, there's a pre-shared password key, and an attacker can capture the handshake on their own device so they can sick their GPU on it. And if everything's updated and working properly and there are no other security vulnerabilities at all on the router, a modern gaming GPU can crack an 8-digit key in under 3 hours. If your Wi-Fi password is a known word that would be in a password dictionary, I'd give it about 60 seconds. With some other vendors and services, you don't actually have to crack anything because they failed to secure their RTSP video feeds properly. And in just a few hours, with some specialized search engines, I managed to browse my way into accessing live feeds from over 24 traffic cameras. And what's even more troubling is that in a couple small towns that I audited, if one camera wasn't secured, none of them were, allowing anyone the capability of tracking every single vehicle in the town indefinitely without ever having to see or write a line of code. Another troubling example, Hikvision, the largest IP camera company in the world. They make all types of cameras, many of which have ALPR technology and are marketed towards police departments. In 2022, hackers were able to not only view the feed, but exploit the firmware used in over 80,000 cameras, allowing them to execute code remotely. And then just last year, the Russian military compromised Hikvision cameras cameras in Ukraine to obtain intelligence to plan airstrikes on Kiev and subvert Ukraine's air defense systems. In fact, right now, at the time of me recording this video, you can download an exploit for Hikvision cameras on GitHub that allows you to view the feed, retrieve snapshots, and extract user credentials. Then you have Verkada, a massive security camera company whose chairman has bragged about locking clients into a predatory subscription model.
There is a hardware component and a licensing component. Now, the license, you might have bought a 1-year license, but you like literally bolted the hardware to your ceiling. So like you're not taking it down.
Many of their clients in healthcare, prisons, police departments, and so on couldn't afford to leave for a more secure ecosystem. So when every single one of their 150,000 plus cameras were hacked due to a corporate administrator account having their username and password publicly exposed on the internet, hackers not only had access to the private video feeds, but the networks that they were connected to.
And they were also able to access the archives of those cameras as well, the clips that had been saved by those customers.
If there's one way to get me completely obsessed about something technical, it's to tell me that I'm not allowed to learn about it. And few industries are cagier about technical analysis or pen testing than the security camera industry. One would assume that it's because they do not want the general public figuring out the technical function of a device that people depend on for security. And by forcing customers into tight agreements or cease and desisting anybody who posts a disassembly video, they're making you safer. If you're buying or if you're in the market of buying any type of home, business, or civic security device or solution, you should be looking for a solution with a high level of openness and transparency. Probably about the worst thing that a nerdy YouTube channel can do to malicious hackers is make content publicly reporting on security vulnerabilities, because it forces the manufacturers to swiftly correct those vulnerabilities or face losing customers to competitors. I started my journey here by obtaining one of the most popular license plate recognition cameras that are mounted on police cars, made by Vigilant Solutions, which is a tough sounding name that Motorola uses when trying to market to law enforcement agencies. It truly did feel like more of Motorola's efforts went into obfuscating its functionality and making it absurdly proprietary than the part that, reads license plates. And ironically, it had a micro SD card in it with unencrypted data. Yeah, not great. Most of them have two different camera sensors, one for the daytime and one for the nighttime, and then a bunch of infrared light emitters. So for example, if a police officer is driving behind a vehicle at night, it'll send out an infrared flash and then take a photo at a very high frame rate, so it's underexposed everywhere but the infrared reflection from the license plate itself. And keep in mind that our human eyeballs are not able to see infrared light, so you or the police officer probably doesn't even realize that a flash is taking place. I'll demonstrate this really quick. Here is a longer exposure with no infrared flash. Here is a longer exposure with an infrared flash. Here's a very fast exposure with the infrared flash. Anyway, this channel's attorney has expressed some concern over the complicated legalities of powering the camera on and using it in this video, considering how I obtained it. And no, I did not steal it off of a police car. So instead, I took it apart and analyzed just about every chip on it, and then rebuilt something similar to the functionality of the daytime camera to see if I can get a nice license plate reader on my truck, just like the police have. And then rather than sending all of the data to an external computer or server, I figured I might as well try to do everything in a sleek device that I put together. I put a Raspberry Pi 5 behind a 7-inch touchscreen display, then used a USB camera module with the exact same specs as the daytime camera. As mentioned earlier, the first order of business is image segmentation, or finding the license plate itself. And this was the most challenging part that required the most tweaking, because rectangles are everywhere. The OCR, or the plate reading part of this project, worked just fine, but if this were my police department and I was the chief, I'd demand better. And ultimately, what's the point of doing all of this if we're not going to create a future-proof method of using technology to allow citizens to opt out from being logged by these types of devices? So we need some more modern AI. There are quite a few license plate reader models available in a virtually endless supply of shape recognition models. YOLO, or You Only Look Once, seemed to perform the most accurate out of the bunch, and it was working much better than the open ALPR-based models that some popular public safety data broker companies use. But YOLO is also pretty power hungry, so I had to add a Halo AI board with 26 tops to my little police computer here.
Getting into a little of the minutiae of it, and I know you guys, unless you're a computer geek, that probably doesn't interest you. I don't really care about the technology or how it works. I just know it's there and they're using it, and we need to prevent them from using this before it takes over. And There's no human liability in the chain. It's all digital, artificial intelligence making all the determinations, whether there's reasonable, articulable suspicion that a crime may have been committed. Leave that up to AI. That one that, likes to blackmail, that one. This is where we're at. And it sucks. It's sad. But people need to be raising the alarm. People need to be aware. You need to be educated about what's available, what they're already using, what they're trying to do with your data, that you already have a digital twin. Just it looks exactly like whatever I'm doing, like here you see on the screen, there's a digital twin, at least one. I would say there's countless. Because everybody who has any type of AI buying data, they have a profile on you, and that's your digital DNA. They don't care about your name. They don't care about your social security number, license plate number. They don't give a crap about all that. They have your digital DNA. You're that entity. And it's a conglomerate of information that creates that digital entity. Part of it's, the devices. All the serial numbers on your devices, those are registered to you or whoever you bought the phone from or whoever you have your service provider with. Same thing with your router. I mean, even go so far, if you buy a product, boom, you buy some iPods and you register them with Apple. Now you're in the database, and guess what those things are doing? They're Bluetooth. Well, guess what? They're talking to every other device that you're around in the gym, and that's part of your digital DNA. You see how all this is connected, intertwined? This is just large, it's even beyond a spider web because it's multiple spider webs laying on top of each other with all these big data like Walmart, Amazon, Meta, X, Twitter. They're all trying to get as much information as they can and data. And they're using every source that they can to acquire your data to put it into your digital DNA database for you, for your entity. So it can triangulate you and identify you much easier than just facial recognition. So if it starts putting 2 and 2 together, 2 and 2 and 2 is 6, 2 and 2 and 2 and 2 is 8, all this stuff starts adding up. Okay. There's that phone. Now it's like search the apps. Oh yeah, they're signed in, John Doe. So guess who that is? It's John Doe. That's how it's all working. And this is part of it. And that's why I showed you this video. Let me see if I can go over here and get through a little bit more of it. So we're not talking about this guy building. Yeah, here's a good one. It's confusing the AI. So we'll dive back in there. I just want to, reiterate to everybody, it's all about educating. If you're not getting educated about what's going on, then you're just going to get, steamrolled. Some people don't care. But I know a lot of my audience does care about their privacy. They do care about their children, their grandchildren, the future generations, their family, their friends, their coworkers. So if I can help out with that and provide you some information and ammunition and resources and remedy, that's what it's all about, folks. So I don't care what you think about me or whatever. If you like the information, thank you. I appreciate it. I like presenting it to you guys, giving you as much information as I can. So this is covering confusing the AI.
Ben Jordan is taking a more direct approach. He wants to confuse the AIs using something called adversarial noise.
Confusing AI models and preventing them from replicating the track.
If you've been here before, you may have seen my ongoing project that encodes music files with noise that AI hears, but humans cannot. It effectively makes instrument and genre classifiers completely confused, and that makes the AI hear complete and utter nonsense. The whole point of that project was to develop something that would prevent AI companies from scraping my and others' albums and reselling the data as an AI music service. And so far, the algorithm is working very well and improving. And the reason I develop things like this is because the people that we've elected to protect our intellectual property and our privacy rights aren't doing their jobs. So if we want any sort of defense from this, we need to roll up our sleeves and use technology to defend ourselves. Sometimes videos like this are controversial because adversarial noise attacks have the potential of becoming a pretty big, expensive problem for the AI industry, especially since the vast majority of that industry is just rapidly feature hunting while building on top of pre-existing AI models that just work. For example, you can't ask an AI model how exactly it recognizes a face because it doesn't have a human brain or eyes, nor is it equipped with a consciousness-based intelligence capable of actually recognizing a person. This black box problem isn't really a problem when an AI model manages to generate an image or a song or recognize a license plate. It just works. But when somebody introduces an attack that prevents the model from working, you can't just open it up and fix a few things. A few years ago, with something called Nightshade, some tech-savvy artists attempted to poison pill their artwork by introducing invisible noise to the image that confused models trained for image generators. And it worked incredibly well at first. Luckily for generative AI companies, they figured out that by adding some blur to the images, then using another AI algorithm to sharpen those images, they could remove most of the confusing noise. That's not exactly a great solution or a cure for the problem. It's more like a bandage, because now training image models takes longer and costs more due to these additions to the data processing workflow. And that particular bandage isn't going to be great for optical character recognition used by license plate readers, because the whole point of the technology is accurately outputting text from an image, not generating abstract license plate photos. So with that being said, here's what we're going to be doing here. I have a license plate database, and I make 1,000 identical traffic images with a plate superimposed on a car. If a license plate isn't even detected at all by both models, meaning that it doesn't even see the plate or rectangle itself, that gets moved to Class A. If the license plate was detected with both models, but it got the plate information wrong, that moves to Class B. Then, if either model detects and reads it correctly, it goes to Class C, which is a control group. Then I do this a whole lot of times with a whole lot of different license plates and create a robust data set to train a new model whose job is to generate abstract, invisible license plate overlay patterns that cannot be detected by humans, but make license plate recognition systems utterly shit the bed. So I put the processing application up here on GitHub, and once you install processing, it's pretty easy to use, and everything is kind of explained in the code itself. And once you configure everything correctly, you'll have a bunch of images like this, where you will have tiny bits of noise on your plate. Some will be more or less conspicuous than others. Now we need to test those images, and I created a Python proving ground to do that. So once the libraries utilizing your GPU are installed and you run the script, it will open up a little dialog where you will select a folder. It will go through every single image in the folder. Then it will create a new folder and fill it up with images, which will tell you where it detected the license plate and what it thinks it read, and a confidence value of that. We have Pooh 5000 with the original. We have Moo 5000 with one of the perturbed. We have PDQ 5009, 9005400, Do 5000, Who 5Do. And then what I'm really interested in, on some of these, it didn't detect a plate at all. Somehow the noise pattern actually perturbed the image segmentation model detecting a rectangle on a vehicle. And if we could figure out what pattern is breaking the image segmentation, like detecting the license plate itself, then it's possible that you could just have a license plate holder that doesn't obfuscate the plate at all. That could make it much less likely to be read by the AI in the license plate readers. Oh, and my little Python app here also outputs all the data into a CSV file just so you can analyze all the data in front of you at once. It was time to test this in the real world against these prototypes. I thought it would be fun to print out the noise on transparent adhesive sheets for my Pooh 5000 license plate. This is just an easy way to test the patterns, and definitely not something you would actually want to put on your car and drive on public roadways unless you miss your friends in prison.
Hey, officer, it's just a little mud from all my off-roading.
12 miles per hour. I'm definitely throwing these cameras a softball. Let's do one at congested parking lot speeds. I mean, that's like essentially holding text right up to the camera. That looks like a normal license plate. Some of these ALPR models are not as visually interesting as others, so rather than just showing a bash terminal scrolling text, we'll stick with footage of the ones where I could pump live video in and get real-time results. So with no adversarial noise, just the raw license plate it detected POO 5000. This is adversarial noise layer A. And it's definitely pretty confused, and it doesn't seem to pass the confidence threshold to even register a plate at all. I tried the Band 1 plate because it's a style that hasn't been used in like 30 or 40 years, and it has red text, and it's just very different than the one that we were trying to attack initially with the black noise. And it definitely does confuse it quite a bit. All right, this is Yoa V8. Booyah. Not all of them passed the test, which was completely expected, but a lot of them did. And I'm reasonably confident that if I just screen printed some of these on a plate and slapped it on my vehicle, I'd be a traffic camera ninja. And again, these are probably not street legal anyway and are just training data for the final model, which will ideally be completely invisible to the human eye and not obstruct the license plate in any perceivable way. When I made the video about Harmony Cloak and when I introduced Poisonify, my AI music defense algorithm, I got inundated by people asking for a user-friendly app or website where they could use it on their own music. I got VCs wanting to invest in it and companies wanting to exclusively own it. And I'm flattered, if not surprised, by that level of enthusiasm. And it's actually really inspiring. But this channel is a nonprofit organization that allows me to do independent research on whatever it is that I feel like researching and then share those ideas for free publicly. And it's my dream job. And that same set of principles applies to this project. In Greek mythology, there's this venomous multi-headed serpent that lives in the swamps, and it goes by the name of the Lernaean Hydra. And anytime that somebody tried to slay this monster by cutting off one of its heads, they would see two heads grow back in its place instantly. And this monster caused many generations to live in fear until one very powerful and brave man was tasked with destroying it, Donald J. Trump, or Hercules, or John Wick. I'm not really sure. If projects like this have any hope of putting a dent in things technologically or inspiring legislation to further protect people's IP or privacy, then you're going to need a whole lot of people working creatively on solutions and sharing that information with one another. And that way, if AI companies figure out a way around a defensive technology, two more will pop up in its place. And it's worth pointing out that I have absolutely no problem with my license plate being identifiable or readable by law enforcement officers, or even the person driving behind me. I don't even have a problem with police using license plate readers mounted on their vehicles. Driving a 2-ton vehicle that is capable of going well over 100 miles per hour on a public roadway or a parking lot is a pretty big responsibility and privilege. Anywhere in the United States, if law enforcement wants to track your location via phone for a prolonged period or even ping you beyond a single cell phone tower, they are required to have a good reason for it, and an elected judge needs to agree that it's a good enough reason by granting them a warrant. This was argued, debated, and decided by the Supreme Court in a landmark ruling from the 2018 case Carpenter versus United States.
Time-stamped data provides an intimate window into a person's life, revealing not only his particular movements, but through them, his familial, political, professional, religious, and sexual associations. These location records, quote, hold for many Americans the privacies of life.
So it would be reasonable to assume that tracking someone's location with AI without a warrant would be a violation of their Fourth Amendment right. Right? Well, that has not been ruled on yet. And if they agree that it's a constitutional violation, they'll be leading the flock safety unicorn out of its $8 billion stable and shooting it right in the head. And considering the combined $92 million lobbying effort of flock safety and their primary investor, maybe it's not so confusing why nobody will straighten this whole constitutional rights thing out. My point, that's taking forever to get to, is I have no idea if using adversarial noise to confuse AI tracking system is legal or not in your state. For this reason, if you were inspired by this video or this information, I would advise and ask that you use that inspiration to research this type of technology. And I would not advise or ask that you immediately screen print or place a matte sticker on your license plate, because you very well could be the one that they make an example out of. I want to talk today about my love affair with this.
So we got into a little bit of the minutia about the algorithm for obviously music, but I don't think most of us are making music when we're out there in the roadways or operating in the public. But I just want to bring this, guys, to your attention, and part of what Tanawa is doing, and I encourage everybody, be a part of the team. Do an affidavit if you've been convicted of a criminal offense. That includes traffic tickets. Definitely, you should get involved with that. But it's incredible what is going on with our world, and I'll touch on this right now with this video.
Well, a significant change to the smoke industry in Texas. Businesses will no longer be able to sell a large variety of vapes.
Yeah, this new law went into effect yesterday, along with hundreds of others. KPRC 2 News reporter Kathy Hernandez is live at Bahama Mama, a vape shop in the Heights. Kathy, you're kind of breaking down what this means for businesses, because there are a lot of them and customers.
Good morning to you. Yes, businesses just like this one here in the Heights, they're concerned as to what of an impact it'll be on their business. The new law is one of the toughest in the country now regarding vaping, essentially eliminating disposable vape category unless it's from the U.S. and manufactured here in the U.S. Here's what the new law will do. It bans advertising or selling e-cigarettes that contain cannabis, including hemp-derived THC, Delta-8, and CBD, kratom, kava, alcohol, or mushrooms. It also bans most disposable nicotine vapes, which are predominantly manufactured and filled in China. It bans vapes with packaging that appeals to minors, such as featuring cartoon characters or packaging that looks like candy. Devices designed to look like toys, marker, pens, or smartphones are also illegal. Here are the ones that are not banned. Open system and refillable vaping devices are not banned as long as the e-liquid is added in the United States. Some disposable vape brands that assemble and fill their products in the U.S. may still be largely sold or legally sold. The ban primarily affects flavored products from China, so refillable devices with domestically sourced tobacco-flavored e-liquid, those are not restricted. Supporters of the law say it'll help protect children here. Now, if businesses are caught violating this law, of course, it could be a Class A misdemeanor, which could result in a fine of up to $4,000.
So you see how confusing that is, just dealing with vapes and THC and Delta-8 and hemp-based vapes. You know, you almost have to have a degree just to determine, you know, what the law is on these types of vaping. You know, is it, you know, God. But not only was that law passed here in Texas, but 800 laws, new laws went into effect yesterday, September 1st. 800. Okay. I want you just to write down 800 words. Just pick out anonymous words, and, you know, ant, boy, game, dog, hunt, cat, fish. And then see if you can remember all 800 that you just wrote down. And this is the insanity of our society. That's a perfect example. Who's going to go read 800 laws? Nobody. The attorneys aren't, the judges aren't, the peace officers, the sworn peace officers, the licensed peace officers, they're not. The security guards definitely are not. Those third-party technology companies that we just looked at, they're definitely not going to go read all 800. And this is the society we live in, that we've turned over our governance to a insane monstrosity, a juvenile delinquent that's a tyrannical, parasitic entity that survives on fines, fees, and taxes that you've allowed to take over. We've allowed to take over, and we have to take it back. And part of this is, you know, listen, I reached out to all the assemblies, Scott McKay with Tactical Civics, Anna Von Wright for the Federation of States, Destry Payne with his assembly, some people in Florida with theirs, some other assemblies and state national groups that I found online, the Republic of Texas. So somebody from the Republic of Texas hit me up and said, yeah, we'd like to participate. And then, Eric called me today, Eric Dingus. He's like, yeah, I just saw the email, but yeah, I'm in. And that's it. Nobody wants to come and harmonize. Nobody wants to act together. I think we all want the same thing, right? To be left alone. We want a less intrusive government, right? We don't want to pay all these crazy, stupid ass taxes. Everything in your life is taxed. You never really even own your own real estate. You don't pay your property taxes, your school taxes. What happens? They come take it away from you and they sell it at the foreclosure auction or HOA auction or tax auction at the first Tuesday of every month. At least here in Texas, they do. And if we don't stand up, if we don't make an effort, okay, if we don't harmonize, we're just going to be controlled. Digital entities running around, waking up, and it's Groundhog's Day. Get up and do the same thing you did yesterday or did the same thing you did last week on the same day. Nothing's going to change. You really have no freedom, and it's going to get worse. Wait till you get a social credit score. Yeah. Wait till you're in line at one of those self-checkouts in the first point of sale system and you see somebody get rejected because maybe they're obese and they're buying, 62 32-ounce Coca-Colas and a box of Wham Whams and Zuzus to go. Right? And you're like, whoa. Yeah, you don't believe it until you see it, and it's coming. All that's coming. And unless nobody stands up and says anything, it's going to keep rolling. But Tenawa's having some success, opening some eyes, making city councils and commissioner courts, go, what? Because once they're put on notice, once you get out there in that public forum, on the record, and you tell them, hey, this is the law, and this is what you're doing. So you can either continue to be complicit in the conspiracy or you can change. So this is a big, big, big deal. Y'all don't even understand how big of a deal this is with all these courts. I did the commercialization of the courts. Go watch that video. I'll break it down from, the whole probable cause all the way to the discharge of whatever it is you got, whether it's jail time, a fine, prison, probation, parole, all commercial. It's a commercial process, folks. It doesn't matter whether it's family court, probate court, civil court, commercial court, criminal court. It's all commercial. And what happens when AI controls commerce? I don't know. Stick around. What else was I going to cover? Thursday, Wesley Keith Mullings with what that glitch was about. Republic of Texas. I'm waiting on them to hit me back. Derek Phillips. Lance Phillips' brother. I'm going to have him on the show. I've already talked to Lance. I just need to get with Derek. If you're not familiar with them, Derek's mother, or both of their brothers, Lance and Derek. Their mother, I believe, was just recently taken into custody. She had to make a decision, and I think she took the jail time instead of the probation. We'll get him on the show. We're going to talk about Lance's case, their mom's case, and this is in Smith County, Texas. If you're not familiar with Smith County, it's, in my experience, my experience. Told you I've been around. Pretty corrupt county. I remember this kid walking up to me over in the WIN unit in the law library, and he's like, "Hey man, you got to help this guy out. He's here for his first DWI." First DWI. I go, what? I mean, you got to have 3 to come to prison. Nah, he's only got 1. Send him over, talk to me. So this guy comes up and Smith County got an indictment with 1 DWI on it, which is a misdemeanor. So we get jail time, and they sent this fool to prison. How the hell that happened? How TDCJ didn't catch it, or if they didn't care to catch it, I don't know what happened to him. You know, it's one of those things. Got ate up in the wash. He was pretty distraught that he was in prison for his first DWI. So I didn't get to, do any more on the case. I just saw that one. But yeah, I have other experiences with Smith County. So that's who we're talking about here with the Phillipses. I'm gonna have them on. So stay tuned. Wednesday, I may do something live from the House of Blues. I'm going to see the Fix. Friday, again, I may do something live from the House of Blues. I'm going to see Blind Melon. Only if they could see me, huh? See that pun? I know. That wasn't very good. Kind of corny. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to be scheduling shows. I'm working on my legal stuff in the background part-time. I'm going to throw this video at y'all guys real quick just to give y'all an uppity up. I got some debuting, probably 1 or 2. 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock tomorrow, 8 o'clock tomorrow, 6 o'clock Thursday, 8 o'clock Thursday. I think I'll definitely have something ready for 6 o'clock Friday, and maybe 8 o'clock Friday. I don't know. I'll see what I got going. I got a lot going on. So thank you everybody for being here. I really appreciate you spending your time with me. I hope you got educated. I hope you learned something. I hope you share this video with as many people as you can so they can also be educated and be aware of, what the future could hold and what it looks like and what is already in effect right now. That's what I try to show you guys. Hey, look, they've been doing this. They've been doing it. So don't think this is anything new or, hey, Floyd's just jumping on the bandwagon or whatever. Yeah. And it's going to get, where it's a more authoritarian or totalitarian state. If you've never read the book by George Orwell, 1984, go read that book. It's not a big book. Go get it. Go spend whatever couple bucks to get the book and read it, or read it online, get that version or whatever. And I promise you, okay, if you have any type of reason and logic, you're going to read this book and go, when did he write this? Amazing how accurate the book really is to our future. Thank you, everybody. I hope you all came back from your Labor Day holiday weekend. If you actually went somewhere or did the stay home deal like I did, I went and saw Steel Panther with my buddy, and I had a freaking blast. If you get a chance to go catch Steel Panther, go check them out. They are true entertainers. Not only are they talented musicians, but definitely true entertainers. So I think I covered everything I need to cover. I got a Venezuelan update, I think, coming out tonight. I do, yeah. New Venezuelan update. So find out what's going on. I'm going to try to keep those updated periodically throughout the weeks, just to let you guys know what's going on in Venezuela, because it's my opinion that if there's going to be a currency to go first, it's going to be Venezuela. Why? Because it's such a extraordinarily hyperinflated currency based on the resources that, I don't know who's doing what, but clearly they're currency should be much more valuable than what it is. So I would think, sir, as soon as the Maduro regime is eliminated and eradicated from within the ranks, and that includes the military, executive branch. I don't know about the judicial and legislative, but definitely from the executive branch and the military. And once the dust settles and they have a new administration installed, I don't know if they're going to do elections or put, the opposition party in by default. Who knows what that looks like? They should just start over fresh, have an interim president, maybe like we did with Iraq with Paul Bremer. Something that looks like that, it would not surprise me that we go in and, do that U.S. hegemony and use the narco trafficking excuse as the, national security drugs to go in and, capitalize and do a regime change in Venezuela. We did it in Panama with Manuel Noriega. You know where he ended up, right? Supermax. Absolutely. So that's why I have my eye on Venezuela, because if you're going to invest in the Venezuelan Bolivar, I encourage everybody to get the highest denomination of the digitali, and that's not financial advice. That's just for entertainment and hobby purposes, because I know it's so cheap that it's cheaper than wallpaper, it's cheaper than toilet paper, it's cheaper than paper towels. So there you go. You can use it for wallpaper, toilet paper, or paper towels, or if you're really crafty, you can make little fold up things and you can weave a basket like I've seen videos of children do. Absolutely. So return on your investment is not guaranteed. It is a risky venture like everything else. And I'm not giving you financial advice, which I covered, medical advice, legal advice, or even friendly advice. I'm just a moron sitting in front of this laptop, just talking about whatever. And I don't know jack shit. So go do your own research and learn on your own so you can make your own decisions with wisdom, logic, and reason as you search for the truth like I do. So don't take my word for it. Go find out for yourself. Thank you, everybody. Have a nice day. Got the outro coming up. You know what to do. Like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell, leave a comment below. I'm in the Fearless Floyd Show at yahoo.com. If you want to email me, fearlessfloydshow.com is my website. If you want to book a store, you just want anything, just go over there, just peruse, go hang out, and go like, this sucks. Click. Thank you for hanging around after the show. I want to present to you Tailor Made Trust, featuring Ann LaFleur's Trust Series, available at tailormadetrust.com, as well as the fearlessfloydshow.com store. Here are a handful of the available trusts that can be built, custom tailored to your needs and desires. 25 different trusts, plus the DNA Trust Addendum. And as always, Ann LaFleur's classic trusts and ancillary classes, and also Ann's books on trusts and specialty trust, which I also co-authored. If you'd like to get a class, a book, or have a trust custom built for you, always available at the fearlessfloydshow.com store. and I'll see you in the next show. Thank you for watching and have an awesome day.